Hi.
I'm Dr. Marsha McLean, and this is the 2.0 Grandma Podcast. And I have my special guest with me, Dr. Sara Margolin. And she is a researcher, and she focuses her research interest on cognitive aging. So we're going to talk about that because as a 2.0 grandma, I do not want to think about myself as declining as far as my aging, as far as my thinking processes. So I want to hear all about the research that you're doing. I want grandmas to believe that we are not getting worse, but we are getting better. So let's talk about it, Sara, okay? Yes, I have
Sure,
to know what we're
yes.
talking about here because we need to know all about this the aging process, because I keep saying my body is just, I don't know, is it I don't want to say it's failing me because that sounds so negative, but sometimes I feel like it's tricking me. Right, one day I was able to do all sorts of things, and then now there's some things I can't do anymore, and then there's some, I'm like, what is happening right now? I do not understand. And my understanding that Sara's research, or Dr. Sara's research, is all about cognitive aging. And I want to hear, and I'm sure that all the 2.0 grandmas out there want to hear about that and what this is all about and what she can share with us. So,
Well, you know what? There's a lot to hope about because
yes,
um I think that the expectation almost in these times is that we're going to all end up with dementia. And that is absolutely not true at all. At all.
yes,
Um Alzheimer's disease is the most common type of dementia, and that hits about 10 to 12% of people over age 65. It does go up to about 50% of people over age 85, but that's
okay.
still not universal.
Hmm.
So this is not an experience that everybody has, but it is maybe the fear that everybody has that we're just going to kind of decline cognitively. We're not going to be able to remember our loved ones, and it's just kind of like all downhill.
My
And
mom
that's
is
not true.
80. She just turned 85 this year, 2025, and knows things that I don't
Hmm.
even know. Can remember stuff that I forgot.
Yes.
So, okay.
Yes. So
So I don't
one
see
thing
that
that
happening
actually
for me.
continues to grow. No, no, no. And there's a large genetic component to Alzheimer's and other
Yes.
types of dementia. And so, if that's not something that's prevalent in your family, I mean, it could still happen, but the risk is very low.
Good.
The risk does go up. So instead of it being at the like 10 to 12% range, we're at the maybe 25% range. But that's still not, a guarantee, right? And I think that whenever someone has that expectation, every time they forget something, it's this sort of Michael Scott moment of it's happening, right? And it's not happening. We all forget things. Young people,
Hmm.
old people, middle-aged people, we all forget things. That's just how human memory works. And so it's likely not dementia. It could be, right? It does happen. And certainly if you're concerned, I would say, see your doctor, but it's not something that we should be expecting to
Hmm.
happen.
Hmm. Well, I'm a college professor, and the movie Nutty Professor, right? And I remember
Mm-hmm.
there was a movie, and I used to have a professor who, when I was in college, that we used to say couldn't remember anything because she would stammer all the time. "Oh, what was that thing?" And to just do that all the time and couldn't remember things. And we would
Mm-hmm.
all, as students, we would roll our eyes and giggle about it and stuff like that, which wasn't really funny. Now that I think about it, now
Mm-hmm.
that I'm probably her age, it's not funny anymore. But we all thought it was funny because she couldn't remember things. But I don't know. And then we would say, well, she's so brilliant that she just has so much in her head that she can't remember everything in her head, that sort of thing.
Actually, there is some truth to that.
Mm,
So, very likely, she was probably always sort of the absent minded professor And
Mm-hmm.
I work with a woman who's like that. She's just very flighty and absent-minded, and she is over 65 now, and she blames all of her flightiness on age, and I have to
Mm-hmm.
keep reminding her that that's not age. She's always been like that.
Even
um
at 30, yeah.
but but the more you age, the more experiences you have, and the more things have been stored in your memory, in your knowledge base. And we actually call that crystallized intelligence. And our crystallized
Oh.
intelligence continues to grow all throughout
Mm-hmm.
our lives. It just grows and grows and grows. I mean, we just like endless information. However, what we also experience when we get older is more
Mm-hmm.
tip of the tongues. And so
Mm.
tip of the tongue is that like, oh, I can't get that word. I can't, what I'm
Right.
thinking of. And one of the reasons, it's not the only reason, but one of the reasons why that happens is we have so much information to sift through that some of it just hasn't been used in a long time because, we've got all this other stuff to use. And so it hasn't been accessed. And so the connection to it is a little bit weaker.
Mm-hmm. Mm. And so that really has nothing to do with dementia, though. That's just not
No,
using
nothing.
the
It's just a
information as much.
normal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. So
Yep.
I like
And
that. And I
that's
love that. I love that term crystallized intelligence because it sounds a lot better than,
mhm.
oh, you just forgot. So you're getting old. It's, I like that a little better.
Right. No, and our crystallized intelligence, it's one of the types of intelligence that we can have. We have crystallized
Mm-hmm.
intelligence, that's our knowledge base. We have
Mm-hmm.
fluid intelligence, that's our ability to think creatively, critically, logically, kind of figure stuff
Mm-hmm.
out.
Mm-hmm.
We have emotional intelligence and our ability to understand our
Mm-hmm.
own and others' emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
all of these things are measured differently and all of them change differently throughout our lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, and I'm a favor I favor Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences. I love to tell my
Hmm.
students about
Yep.
that because I teach
Yep.
early childhood students who are working in the field of early childhood teachers. And I love to tell them
Hmm.
about that because it's another way for us to help young children, understand that maybe they may not do well on an IQ test, for example, like in third grade or whatever,
Right.
but they are intelligent in other ways, and so it gives
Hmm.
us hope. It gives us something to hold on to and to grasp that, yeah, maybe our test taking skills are not that great, but we are intelligent in other ways and more than one way, right? So it gives us something
Hmm.
to feel good about
Yes.
ourselves, and so I really love
Right. And
that
the same
field.
holds true when we get older.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
The
mm-hmm,
same holds true when
definitely.
we get older, and
Mm-hmm,
our life experiences and the things that we do and the things that we practice are going to impact the different types of intelligences differently. So our
mm-hmm,
experiences are going to help us grow our crystallized intelligence. But if we're just trying to memorize facts and not actually kind of think creatively or critically, then our fluid intelligence could wane. And that is going to happen whether we're 70 or whether we're 30. We don't use
mm-hmm,
it, we will lose it.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So tell me, Dr. Sarah, how did you get into this field of cognitive aging? Because you're young, and so how did you get into this field? What enticed you? What was so sexy about this field? That interests you.
Yeah. So you comment that I'm young. I look younger than I am. I am in my mid 40s, so
Okay.
I'm middle aged.
Oh,
Um,
oh wow,
but
40
people
is middle
actually say
age
that to
now.
so
You
people
know what
actually
they
say
say,
that to me a
40
lot.
is
Like,
the
how can you
new,
be
well, you know how they say 40 is the
how can
new
you be an
this and 40
expert?
is the new that? Yeah, 40 is the new 20, right?
Yeah, but I mean, but it's middle aged, right?
Mhm,
I'm a mom of teenagers. I'm middle aged, and people say, "Well, how can you be an expert on aging if you're not older?" And I
mhm.
say to that, how can you be an expert on cancer if you don't have it? How can you be an expert on
Ooh,
early
yeah.
childhood education if you're an adult? How can you be an
Mm,
expert in
ah,
pediatrics if you're an adult? Right? It's sort of the same idea. And truth be told, most older adults know more than I do, right? Because of their crystallized intelligence that's been growing over the period of, their lives. But I also know more now in my 40s than I did in my 20s. That's just the nature of life.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
but I got into this field kind of on a fluke. So I, in college, was a psychology major on paper because I needed to have a major because I was pre-med, and pre-med wasn't a major at my university. So you just took all those classes alongside whatever major you were going to be. And I started taking all the psychology classes. I'm like, this is really kind of cool, especially all the like neuroscience, biological kinds of stuff. And it very much aligned with the pre-medical sciences that I was studying. And I got to my very last semester. I was applying to medical school and I said, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go to medical school. I'm going to handle the scores. I handle the classes. I was very likely going to be accepted. I had everything on paper, but I didn't have the heart.
Mm.
And so I said, what do I do? Right. I'm done with school. What do I do? I don't know what to do. And so on a whim, I applied to the graduate program in psychology because at the university I was already at, because I was like, well, and it's open. Let's give it a try. I got accepted, and I got accepted to work under a researcher who studied cognitive aging, and she had a grant that could fund me for 3 years during my graduate work. And so I said, okay, I'll try it. And I fell in love with it.
Mm.
Every older adult I encountered was someone I could somehow relate to, that there was a connection with those people. And I just always wanted to ask more questions about what
Mm.
it was that they were thinking, what were they able to do, how they were able to engage with others and continue to be active. Because even though I saw the capabilities in my grandparents, right? Being
Mm-hmm.
fully capable, very mind driven people. I didn't know that that was really the norm. I, like most people, thought eventually they'll get dementia and, it'll be downhill. And then eventually did not come. And I was watching my grandmother, want to go skydiving for her 80th birthday, and it's just this active. We didn't let her go.
Yeah,
um we took her gambling on a cruise instead.
a little bit safer, huh?
But I was just always so curious about every older adult that I encountered, like, why is this what it was? And so I kept studying, and I got my PhD actually at a very young age. I was 25 when I got my PhD.
Wow. Mm.
And I got a job. I got a job immediately as a professor at a university on the other side of the country. And I've been there ever since.
Wow. And now, are your students, what are they studying? Psychology, gerontology? What do they study?
Most of them are psychology students.
Mm.
Some of them are also studying aging studies.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are also studying neuroscience.
Mm.
But most
Mm.
of them are housed under psychology.
Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting.
Hmm.
Very interesting.
Hmm.
So, I
Yeah.
was looking at and thinking about, some of the myths that we encounter, for when within, with regards to aging. For example, like we say, oh, we know that at a certain age, 60, 65, your memory starts declining. That's one of them, right? As far as
Hmm.
cognitively is
Hmm.
concerned. And we know that that's
Hmm.
not true, like you said earlier, for every adult. It
Yeah.
varies person to person.
Hmm.
And I think you even said it may be as a result of genetics. It may be even result of maybe what you eat, your experiences, some other things. Have you found that in your
Hmm.
research that it may have to do with
Yes.
those things as well? Yeah. And so
Yeah.
what
So
would you
there's
say then? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. So
no.
there's what
So
was
there's
it?
I like to think about it as like a through a biopsychosocial or
Mm-hmm.
relationship. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's a combination of our biology, our psychology, and our social relationships are going to play a role
Mm-hmm.
in how our memory and our aging process goes
Mm-hmm.
throughout. So, older adulthood, that range, there's a 30-year plus range of time, and it doesn't just start at age 60. We're doing this our whole life. Um, but yes, things that we eat
Mm-hmm.
can very much play a role. Um, we see vitamin B12 and omega-3 fatty acids are very important to our brain function. And in some cases, a B12 deficiency can look like dementia. So if someone has memory loss and has confusion, that would be one of the first screenings that a doctor should do, is to
Mm-hmm.
check, especially if that person has poor appetite, maybe they're vegan like me, and something to pay attention to in your diet or your supplementation, because it can affect how our nerves function in our brain.
Mm-hmm.
Omega-3 fatty acids as well. Fat is very important for our brain function. Not saturated fats, but omega-3 fats in particular, um, because our neurons need fat to surround them and cushion them. There's a coating on every one of our brain cells called the myelin sheath, and it. I like to think about it sort of like when you cook an egg in a pan. You
Mm-hmm.
put oil in the pan so the egg doesn't stick. We
Mm-hmm.
have fat on our nerve cells so the messages don't stick. They can go smoothly from one neuron to the next. And when we don't have that, it doesn't send the signal. And that's what happens in someone with MS. Their immune
Mm-hmm.
system has kind of broken down that covering, that myelin sheath, and so the signals don't get sent. So paying attention to those things biologically is important.
Mm-hmm.
And then psychologically, we need to be using our memory. We need to be, challenging our mind. I think one of the best ways to do that is by reading, and reading all different kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if we're reading nonfiction, we're learning something and we're boosting our crystallized intelligence. If we're reading like a murder mystery, we're trying to figure out like who did it. Then we're using
Mm-hmm.
our fluid intelligence. If we're reading maybe a romance novel, then we're using our emotional intelligence, and so on. So I like to recommend reading. Um, and then socially, having relationships, both in our family and outside our family, is really important, because now we're able to use those other things
Mm-hmm.
in context
Mm-hmm.
and connect with other generations. And that's actually something that you probably know about as an early childhood educator, and our socio-emotional and cognitive development,
Mm-hmm.
and how Piaget laid out all of those stages, right? And there is
Mm-hmm.
a stage in toward end of life called the generativity stage, where we want to pass on our knowledge and our
Mm-hmm.
wisdom. And so we can do that
Mm-hmm.
when we have those relationships
Mm-hmm.
outside of our outside of our family, but even within our family. And there's actually
Mm-hmm.
a really cool study that I saw that showed brain activity between a grandparent and a grandchild actually synchronizes
Mm-hmm.
when that grandparent is included in like day-to-day life stuff. So particularly when they're like living within the home, but even if they're part of the daily rhythm, maybe they're the one that comes over and gets them on the school bus or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
When they're part of the daily rhythm, the grandparent and grandchild in particular, not just the parent and the child, but the grandparent and the child and the grandchild, there's a connection, and the brain activity can synchronize, which I just thought was
That's
amazing.
interesting. That is very interesting. So Eric Erickson has this psychosocial theory about going
Yep.
through the whole lifespan, right? And so
Yes.
I think
Hmm.
he's the one that really talks about that generativity, something.
Generativity. Yep.
Yeah,
Hmm. Yep.
at the very, well, not at the end, but as far as the lifespan, it's that one of those later stages So those 8 stages,
Yeah.
and I think he was at like the later stage.
I think it's like
And
7.
yes,
Mhm.
yes. And so,
Yep.
yeah, but I didn't realize that part I missed, of the synchronicity of the grandchild and the grandparent.
That's newer
Uh,
research.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love that because
Mhm.
I think that there was an article that I was reading about, or maybe someone was talking about it, and how the grandchild and the grandparent work together. Oh, I know what it was. There's this new app that somebody was sharing with
Mhm.
me, a company that
Mhm.
wanted to partner with us, and they were talking about how the grandparent and the grandchild can work together with this on this app. So the
Mhm.
grandparent can be at a distance, and the child that can
Yep.
send them their work and that sort of thing, right? And they'll be talking about what they're
Yep.
doing in the app. And I didn't think about how that connected with Erickson's psychosocial theory. I didn't even think about that, but you're
Yeah.
right. That is so
Yeah.
important. And yeah, that's a
Yep.
great idea. I didn't think about that until right now. I kind of, my crystallized
Yeah.
intelligence just thought, oh, that just says a lot
Yeah.
about that app, right? That's
And yeah, and
exactly
we're
what.
really lucky to be able to have this technology to be able to use that
Yes,
and make those
yes,
connections even if they aren't living right here.
yes, yes.
And actually when we went into the pandemic and everything was shut down and people had to figure out
Mm-hmm,
technology, it used to
mm-hmm.
be the case that and my mom was one of these people. It was like older people can't use technology, and she would say like, I just dust the computer, I won't use it. and i
I
was
do,
and I was
but I
like, but
won't
you
use
kind of want to use that, right? Um but during the pandemic, older adults were able to figure out the technology so that they can stay connected to their
it. Mm-hmm,
family.
mm-hmm.
And they did. Even though,
Yes,
it was hard, they were
yes,
able to figure out FaceTime, and they were able to figure
yes,
out video calls. And, now you see older people playing video games, right, with their
yes,
grandchildren.
yes. And
And
people were
it's
zooming and
amazing.
all
And
kinds of
it's
stuff.
so
Yeah.
good for them.
Yes. And that's the other thing that I was going to add when you were talking about the biosocial psycho part of, or those roles that, helps us to kind of, stay connected, and helps us with,
Yeah.
debunking these myths that we're going to, that we're aging, unless we do something, unless we're really intentional about that.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking that if we don't do these things, and we believe that, yeah, we are going to get dementia, or we are going to, cognitively fail unless we do these things, unless we really intentionally focus on it. We do something, we talk about something with our grandmas, we do a newsletter, and we talk about how important it is to really connect with people. Make sure you're connecting with people. It doesn't matter who you're connecting with, family,
Hmm.
friends,
Hmm.
whomever, that you stay socially
Hmm.
connected, that you intellectually, you have to be well.
Hmm.
If it's reading a book, if it's trying to figure out technology,
Hmm.
if it's putting yourself, getting online, socially,
Hmm.
it's trying to figure out something that you're doing, even if it's
Hmm.
technology wise, let's just
Hmm.
figure it out. And
Yes.
so we connected with this group where they're gonna try to help grandmas be a little bit more tech savvy, even if it was a
Hmm.
one-on-one, where we're going to say, okay, let me show you how to send a text message, right? Nothing but that.
Yes.
Because some don't even know how to do
Hmm.
that. They're afraid, oh, what, I might break the phone. Well, it's your
Hmm.
phone. If you break it, then just get it fixed or whatever. But at least try it.
Hmm.
And taking care of yourself, physically eating better and those kinds
Hmm.
of things, so that
Yes.
you don't, so that you are well, so that you don't get you can prevent some of these things from happening to you,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
didn't realize that this is a way to maybe prevent,
Yes.
the cognitive aging process, that you're failing on this
Yes.
on here. I didn't realize how that was connected until now. I didn't realize that was connected. We were just saying, do
Yeah.
these things so that you're not lost out here, so that you're not by yourself, so that you're not feeling lonely, but didn't realize how they were
Right.
connected with that as
No, it
well.
really
That's
does, because
yeah.
especially when you're connecting with someone who's outside of your family who doesn't experience day-to-day life with you, it
Hmm.
takes a lot of mental work to be able to communicate with them. right? And
Mhm.
and tell them, what's been happening and what you've been doing, and have a conversation about anything.
Mhm.
And that work is your brain exercising and doing
Mhm.
the things that you need to be doing. And so what we're looking to do is create a cognitive reserve so
Mm.
that we're built it's almost like building up a muscle. I mean, your brain isn't a muscle, but it's sort of like building a muscle so that if something should happen, dementia, a stroke, something, there's backup system. There's extra
Mm.
strength behind it so that if there is damage and something happens, there's other pathways that we can use to continue our function for daily life activities. And so then we can maybe still continue to you know, pay our bills, do our laundry, cook our meals because we've got the reserve
Mm.
there to help us last a little bit longer.
Mm. Mm. Beautiful. Yeah. Huh. It's so interesting that, as I learn more and more about, actually, my whole idea behind this whole thing, this whole grandma thing was really, it started just because I felt like, well, grandmas are invisible. People don't see
Mhm.
us. They see us
Mhm.
as, somebody to babysit kids. That's basically it.
Mm.
That's the only thing they see is, or
Yep.
somebody to loan money when they need money. And that's basically it. Other than
Mhm.
that, they don't really see us. And so
Right.
I said, well, we're more than that. We should be out here
Mhm.
living our best life now. Our kids are
Mhm.
adults, they're grown. It's our time to do
Mhm.
something that we wanted to do. It's our time to really take our life back and say, oh wow,
Mhm.
I can do anything I want to do now. I have no kids at home. Oh
Yeah.
my God. I want to go back to
Mhm.
school. Oh my God, I want to do this. You know what? I've always wanted to, and I never had a
Mhm.
chance to do it. This is my time to do it. And so, that was my
Yes.
idea about doing this, right? But it has
Mhm.
turned into so much more than that. It really
I
has.
love that.
And it
I
has
love
been
that.
an incredible, incredible ride because I have found so many women that are doing some incredible things, like in their 40s,
Mhm.
50s, 60s, 70s. I mean, living their life boldly,
Mhm. Mhm.
unapologetically, right?
As
And
they should.
yes, and just decided,
As they
okay,
should.
I'm going to do some things for me. Here's some
Mhm.
things I've always wanted to do, or
Mhm.
I'm just going to sit here and not do anything and watch, or oh, guess what? I decided that what I'm going to do is I'm going to divorce and I'm going to go over here and do this because this is what I've always wanted to do. I mean, whatever. I mean, it has been really,
Yeah.
really something to watch. It really
Mhm.
has.
Yeah.
And it's been so unexpected. It's been very surprising. The
Mhm.
things that I've seen women doing, it really has
Mhm.
been surprising. Pleasantly, I've been very I feel very honored to be doing this
Mhm.
because I've seen all kinds of things and I've seen women doing all sorts of things
Mhm.
that I've been just shocked at. And
Mhm.
not in a negative way. That's not what I mean, but just shocked that they are
No.
old enough to do them. Yeah.
Well,
It's
what's
been a
really interesting is, and I think we see this like every like May, June time when it's like graduation season, we see
Mhm.
like, look at this person, she's 80 and she just
Right.
graduated with her bachelor's
Yes.
degree, or like, but the thing is, we shouldn't be shocked. This is
Right.
people, these people are fully capable, always
Mhm.
have been, and now they've
Mhm.
taken the time to do
To
it.
do it.
And
Yes.
the fact that they're older shouldn't shock us because they're capable,
Mhm.
but we
Mhm.
are shocked because of our expectation of a myth that we think should be coming true that doesn't.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
These
Mhm.
people are fully capable. Recently, I saw Jane Fonda. She said when
Mhm.
she turned 60, she's what, 87 or something now?
80,
She's 80,
yes. Can
85,
you believe this? She
87,
looks
somewhere around there.
wonderful too.
She's
Yes.
wonderful. But she said when she turned 60, like something hit and she was like, this is my third act.
Mm.
This is my time where like I lived my first 30 years developing into a woman. I lived my second 30 years, acting, doing, my job. And now it's my third act. And this is my last chance to do the things that I've always wanted to do. And
Yes.
I think that's the time, that's the turning point, right? Like we
Uh-huh.
can do the things we've always wanted to do, or we can say, oh, I'm going to buy into the myth and I'm just going to, it's all downhill. I'm just going to ride the wave down. And we don't
Hmm.
have to, because that's not what life is.
Right.
It's our third act. Do the thing.
Do the thing, right? And when you
Do the
think about it,
thing.
it's actually very sexy when you think about it. I mean, it's like,
Mhm.
whoa, when you think about somebody doing what they
Mhm.
really want to do or what they've always wanted
Mhm.
to do, it's like, wow, you go, girl, kind of thing like that. It really
Right.
is. It really is when you think about it. It's like,
Mhm.
wow. Or like, for
Mhm.
me, when I see somebody when I see a woman on a motorcycle, I'm like, oh my God, I've always wanted to do that. I've taken a picture on
Mhm.
one, but I've never actually driven one, kind of thing, like,
I
oh,
tried
that's
once.
so great. Yeah.
I tried once. I fell over before we even got going. It's done.
Did you get up and try again?
No, my
No.
brother-in-law wouldn't let me. It was his motorcycle and I scratched it. He was upset.
Okay,
He was like,
second
no
act,
more.
girl, you gotta do it again, right? You gotta try it one more time. It's like your
I can try
grandma
again.
what your grandma want to do? Skydive or something? Didn't you say
She
she
wanted
wanted
to
to
go
skydive?
skydiving for her
Yeah.
80th birthday. We were like, The last photo I have of her, she died when she was 94.
Oh
On her
wow.
when she was 93, the last photo I have of her is her on a motorcycle or standing next to a motorcycle, like holding onto the handles. She was
Uh-huh,
like ready to
uh-huh.
go. I don't think she wrote it, but we certainly took pictures.
Yes, yes, yes. I did that. I can't remember what birthday it was, but I took pictures of it. And somebody said, "Oh my God, I didn't know you rode a bike." I said, "No, I didn't." They said, "Well, I thought I saw you." I'm like, "You did," but
Yeah, I'm just sitting on
I
it.
said, that was my dream. I was just standing there pretending. I was sitting on
Yeah, that's what she was doing.
it. It was fun for me. What can I say?
Absolutely.
And I told my husband, I think it was when I turned 65, I said, "Ooh, I should get a tattoo." He looked at me and rolled his eyes.
My mother-in-law did that for her 60th birthday. She got herself her first tattoo.
Yes, I should get
Just
a
do
tattoo.
it. Why not?
My daughter was like, "Mommy, really?" I'm like, "Yeah," because I
Mhm.
mean, my people in my age, but we didn't get tattoos. Like my daughter had one at what 18, I think. That's when we
Mhm.
would let her get one. And so I'm like, I've always wanted to do that, but yeah, I still haven't done it yet. But we'll see. I still got a few
It's your
years
third
left in
act.
me,
You
so
can do
we'll
it.
see. Yeah, my third act, maybe I'll do it. Yeah, but this has been fun, Sarah. As a matter of fact, this has been more fun than the first one. But
I think so too.
yeah. Anyway, I mean, I love this because, first of all, I really like breaking this thing down, this cognitive aging process. I really like breaking it down. Now, tell me this:
Mhm.
products on the market. A lot of them say, like there's one. Is
Mm,
it there's something with prevent something in it,
mhm,
and they
mhm,
talk about preventing cognitive aging or memory
mhm.
loss or something like that.
Right.
Do any of those products really work?
Not
What
really.
advice would
There's
you
not a
give
lot of,
people?
yeah, no, there's not a lot of evidence for any of these supplements. There's a little bit of support for like ginkgo biloba. There's a little bit
Uh,
of support for creatine, but the
okay,
evidence is not overwhelming. I would
okay,
argue that something like a Mediterranean diet is
mm,
probably better
okay,
than any
Mediterranean diet.
supplement.
Okay,
There's a lot of research that supports the Mediterranean diet in
okay,
how it helps and supports brain health over time.
okay,
And someone who also maybe has high blood pressure could incorporate the DASH diet, which is basically like low sodium. And the combination of those two things would be more beneficial than any supplement.
okay, okay, okay. Now, one last question. Well, two. Advice for the 2.0 grandma who wants to defy aging altogether.
That's a good question. I would say do the thing. Do the thing. Use what you have, use what you've learned, use your experiences
Mm-hmm.
to do what you've always wanted to do and leave a
Mm.
legacy.
Ah, ah, okay. All right. And then the last one, how could we possibly collaborate?
Oh gosh. Anything to educate other older women or women who are growing older on what's coming and why it's so good.
Mm-hmm. What's coming?
So what's
So, like, give
coming
me
for
an example.
them
Right. So, what's coming
in
for
getting
them
older.
and
Mm-hmm.
getting older? So, like, what? What do you mean? Like a news kind of news
A newsletter, an
article,
article,
article and
another,
newsletter. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, so that sounds good. So some of your articles, could we break them down so they're not so researchy, of course, so that the everyday person can understand what you're
Yes.
saying,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe
Yeah, and
we
in fact,
can.
I've written a lot on all of the aging process in
Okay,
newspapers and magazines and online blogs. I'm also on the board of experts for Crunchy Tales magazine.
just
So if
crunchy
you
tails. I don't know that one.
Crunchy
Okay,
Tales is an online magazine for women over 40.
okay, okay,
And so I've written for them. I've written for the Gray Panthers NYC. They've got a blog on their website. You'll find several of my articles there, so you can see
okay,
sort of my writing style and the things that
okay,
I address. And none of them are super researchy. They're all very
okay.
approachable for the layperson.
Okay, perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, that would be great to do something like that, because I
Mhm.
would love for our followers to understand about this process, how to, in the long run, how to prevent, and like, for example, when you said, oh, a Mediterranean diet is probably going to be the best to
Yeah.
prevent this. And what does
Mm-hmm.
that mean? Give us, like, what does that mean you would eat for breakfast, lunch,
Right.
that sort of thing. And you don't have
Yeah.
to do it all at one time, but just say, so that means for lunch, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for one day, here's what you would eat, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Yeah.
they would know. And then they could then look it up and then find, or here's a link to find more about that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little something, because most people don't want to read a whole, they don't want to read a research article, but they might read a column, they might read
Mm-hmm.
a paragraph, something like that. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
people who read
Yeah, no,
social
they're
media,
not going to want to read a scientific journal
they don't
article.
read
They're
something
also,
exactly, but
yeah. I mean, I also wrote a textbook. They're not going to want to read that either.
right, they definitely don't want to go to class, right?
My
But yeah,
students don't want to read that.
exactly. Yeah, mine don't either. They want it short chunks, right? Yeah, but anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, so that's it. But thank you, Dr. Sarah. I really appreciate you. And again, this was so much fun. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you
And I
so
look
much for
forward to us
having
talking
me.
again. Okay, so I'll stay in
Yes,
touch, okay? All right, thank you. And
absolutely.
thanks for
Yeah.
the back and forth. I appreciate you hanging in there.
Oh, yeah, not a problem.
All
Thanks so
right,
much.
take
It
care
was good
now.
to meet you.
Bye.
Introducing a remarkable book, a tapestry of stories from atypical grandmas whose lives are a treasure trove of wisdom and inspiration. Stories of inspiration, life lessons, and wisdom from grandmas by Dr. Marsha McLean. This extraordinary book is now available on www.grandmas2.0.com and on Amazon.